let's do 6A now. We're talking about characterizing data. We're going to talk about the mean, the median, the mode, those types of things. Then we're going to talk about how to use it, when it's appropriate, when it might not be, and just kind of what the difference is. So let's first talk about the definitions. The word mean means the exact same thing as the average. Those two are the same exact thing. You've probably talked about averages a million times. You add all of the data values together, then you divide by the total number of data points. So add all data values together, then divide by the number of data points you have. And of course, we're going to go through examples of this, but make sure you have that one written down. Okay, let's talk about the median next. The median. Think about the road. What's the median? It's what's in the middle, right? So the median, let me erase the top just so I can have a tiny bit more room. The median. The median is the middle. So for this one, first, to find the middle, you can't just look at a bunch of data points and go, oh yeah, that's the one in the middle. You have to first arrange them in numerical order. Okay, so first you have to arrange data in numerical order, and then pick the middle. Then pick the middle. Okay, well, what if there is no middle? If you have an even number of data points, you average the two in the middle. So if you have an even number of data points, you have to average or take the mean of the two. Sorry, that's really obnoxious, huh? Average the two in the middle. Of course, we're gonna do examples of this, I promise. I just want you to have the definition so when you're doing the homework, you're good, okay? And now let's do the mode. Mode sounds like most. So it's the one that happens the most. The mode, M-O-D-E, sounds like most. It's the one that occurs the most. I'm going to say the data value that occurs the most. Again, we'll do examples, I promise. Okay, and there could be more than one. So that's my little asterisk here. There could be more than one. That's fine. There could be more than one. Okay, great. So now knowing all of that, let's look at, we'll just do number one. We'll just do number one first. So in number one, they want us to, where's my calculator? I have no idea. Well, I have the answers already, but you do it too. So in number one, they first want us to look at all of these body temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit of randomly selected healthy adults, okay? Then they want us to find the mean, the median, and the mode. All right, so for those temperatures, right, there are 10 of them. So to find the mean, this is number one. It does not look like it says mean, but it does, I swear. To find the mean, you need to add all 10 up and divide by 10, finding the average. I'm sure you've done that before. So go ahead, add all 10 of those up and then divide by 10. We're dividing by 10 because there are 10 pieces of data, right? 98.6, that's one piece of data. The next 98.6, that's two pieces of data. 98.0, that's 1, 2, now 3. Hopefully that makes sense. So add them all up and tell me what you get. Pause the video. Okay, when you add them all up, you should get 984.4. Is that what you guys got, hopefully? And then divide by 10. So your average then is 98.44, and you might have said, okay, that's about 98.4, and that's fine. Okay, in MyMathLab, just of course, make sure you're careful and round it to the place value that they want. If they want you to round it to the 10th place, this will be your answer. If they want you to round it to 2 decimal places or to the 100th place, that'll be your answer. Okay, what about the median? What's the median here? What you have to do first is organize these in numerical order. You can't just go, okay, well, there's 5 on top, 5 on bottom. I'm going to pick one of them. You have to organize them in numerical order. So let me do that right here. The lowest value is 98.0, right? And we have 2 of those. What's the next value? We have 98.4. We have 2 of those. We have 4 of those. Okay. 98.4, 98.4, 98.4. Okay, that's 6. What's next? 98.6. We have 3 of those. 98.6. I'm going to write really, really small. These are all 98.6s. And then what's the highest value? 99.0. Okay. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those are all 10. And I just went through and numbered them on mine, just so I knew that I was putting them correctly in numerical order. So what's the middle number then? Well, we don't have a middle number, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's no middle number. So what I do is I take these 2 and I average them. It just so happens that they're the exact same number. So my median then is the average of these, which if you add them together and divide by 2, you're going to get 98.4. If these were different, say this happened to be 98.6 and this was 98.4, you would add those together and divide by 2, and your answer would then be 98.5. But it's not, right? Let me put this back the correct way so no one's confused. All right, so that's the middle. If we only had 9 data values and we didn't have 10, we would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we would just choose this number that falls in the middle. This is only because we have an even number. What's the mode? What's the mode? What happens the most? Yes, of course, it's 98.4 because it happens 4 times. Mode, most. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Okay, good. If 98.6 were to happen one more time, like say instead of 99, this was 98.6, you would just simply have 2 modes. You would have 98.4 and 98.6 if 99 wasn't there, but it is, so we'll leave it. All right, so that's the answer to number 1. If you have any questions, as always, let me know. Number 2 is exactly the same. Feel free to do number 2. Try it on your own. I would. It's a great example to try. Let me give you the answers. Pause the video now if you want to do number 2, and I highly suggest you do. I'll give you the answers I got. For the mean, I got 15.68 or 15.7. For the median, I got 79. And for the modes, I got 70, 73, 76, and 81. Okay, I didn't do number 3, but again, feel free to do it just like we did number 1. Let's look at, we have so many of them. Let's look at number 4. I'm going to erase the board. Let's talk about number 4. And now you have the answers for number 2. So why don't you guys try number 2? You'll try it in the MyMathLab homework as well, of course. But now you have the answers, so you can like double check yourself if you want. Let's look at number 4. The following data give the margin of victory for the Super Bowl for 2003 to 2013. Okay. They want us to find the mean and the median margin of victory. All right. So what about this one? How do we find the mean? It's the same thing we've been doing for the other means. Add them all up and divide by the total number of data points. How many data points are there in this one? 11. I got 11. Hopefully you guys did too. So add all those numbers up and then divide by 11. Go ahead, try it. Pause the video. All right, so for the mean, I forget like when I say pause the video that I don't actually have to stop because you can of course just join it. It's weird, this teaching online thing. So for the mean, I had 90 and then we divide it by 11, right? Because there are 11 different data points, 11 values. And so you should get about 8.18, or you might say 8.2, depending on how MyMathLab asked you to round it. If I don't say on the test, either one of those two is fine. What about the median? What about the median? What's the middle number? Remember, you have to put them in numerical order first. You can't just go to the list and find the number in the middle. So I'll tell you, spoiler alert, the correct answer is not 3. It is not 3. Put them in numerical order first, and then find the number in the middle. Go ahead, pause the video and try it. Okay, the median is 4 because you put them in numerical order, then you went to the middle value. Good. Now let's talk about a new vocabulary word, outliers. Identify the outliers in the set of data. What does that mean, outlier? Lies outside, basically, of where most of the data is. In my opinion, there are a couple different ways to talk about the outliers on this one. So an outlier is kind of like anything that's not kind of like the majority of the numbers. So for example, 27 is definitely an outlier in this data, right? It's way higher than any of the other values. I think you could also argue that 11, 12, and 14 are also outliers. Your answer would be either 27 or 11, 12, 14, and 27. Those would be 2 correct answers, and I would say those would be the only 2 correct answers. 3s, 4s, and 6s are all pretty close together. I hope that makes sense. So an outlier is just anything that's much different than the majority of the data, and either one of those 2 answers would be fine. So if you take out the outliers, so say you just chose 27, take out the number 27, and then they want you to calculate the average and the median again. Now we're going to do my own special problem. It doesn't fall in here. Let's do this special problem that you may see again on a test because it's my problem. I made it up, so I must think it's at least a little bit important. Let's say the houses in a neighborhood, this is not found on the sheet. Houses in a N-E-I-G-H-B-O-R. The houses in a neighborhood cost, I did it. I had a number from last semester, so I'm gonna do that here. Oops, sorry, not 275. Erase. 225. The next one is 300. 315. 325. Okay, and there's a gorgeous one at the end of the block. It's 1.2 million. It's a bougie house. All right, I want you to tell me what is the mean price of the house and what is the median. Pause the video and go ahead, please, and calculate those for the houses in this neighborhood. Go ahead, do it right now. So for the mean, you add them all up and you divide by 5, right? Hopefully you got $473,000. And again, if any of my calculations are ever wrong, please feel free to send me an email. I know I'm not perfect. I'm doing the best I can. What do you get for the median? When you put these in numerical order, which actually they already happen to be, and you pick the one in the middle, what did you get? Hopefully you got 315,000. So these are both mathematical ways to talk about the prices in this neighborhood. When we talk about housing prices, have you ever noticed which one people usually talk about? They usually don't talk about the average house price, but they usually use the word median, right? These 2 numbers are describing this neighborhood here. They're both completely correct. But which one do you think is a better representation of the majority of the houses in that neighborhood? Which one is closest to most of the prices in that neighborhood? It's this one, right? It has to be. Look, 315 is kind of close to 225. It's definitely close to 300. It's exactly that. And it's pretty close to this. So the median is actually a better representation because it's closest to most of the houses. We would call this house, of course, that cost $1.2 million an outlier, right? It's much bigger than the rest of the houses in that neighborhood, and it skews the mean value. When we add them all up, we have to include this. The mean is not close to any of these house prices, really, and it's also not really close to this house price. So it's not really a representation of many of the individual houses in the neighborhood. It's a completely accurate number, so it's kind of strange because, well, it's right, and this is also right. So it's like, which one works and why? If you're interested in real estate, and I know I have people in classes that are, usually they use the median because it's more representative of most of the houses, right? 315 is pretty close to, definitely very close to these three, pretty close to this, not at all close to this, but it gets, 60 to 80% of the neighborhood in there. This one really doesn't get anything, right? And different people use different numbers depending on what they want you to believe. So it might be helpful to ask, if you're looking at buying houses, don't ask about the mean of the neighborhood housing prices. Maybe ask about the median home price instead. I'm going to stop the video here, and I'm going to pick up with, what section are we on? 6A part 2 in the next video. Thanks, guys.